And now, though, I have to ask a question in terms of scientific integrity, because you went out and you asked all of these people, because I looked at your study, the majority of the respondents were vaccinated. A lot of them had lost their positions, or sorry, unvaccinated. A lot of them had lost their positions because of that. And fewer of them were vaccinated. So do you think that there might have been not an intentional in any way bias in your results, but just in terms of the respondents that you got?
That's a very good question. And I have let me try to put it in simple terms for your audience. My contacts were already a priori, primarily contacts of people who had been, in my opinion, abused by the system, right? So that was an a priori bias, if you will. Now, having said that, I made, a very good faith effort to advertise on social media as much as I could. But of course, there's millions of people out there, people are busy, and perhaps the people who are happily employed and happy with the mandates are not going to take the time to reply to my study. Now, that being said, that is also true of the body of research that has investigated the perspectives of workers who are, who have kept their job or are new to or perhaps they're very young and they don't, when they were vaccinated, because otherwise they would be thrown out, and they believe, well, this is the way the world works. And in fact, we found evidence to that effect in the literature of many, surveys of healthcare workers looking at vaccine hesitancy, because for them, that's a problem to be fixed. So they go out and have a predetermined conception of the goodness or badness of vaccine mandates, because how would you reject something that is so good, like a mandate, like a vaccine? So they actually say, some, not all, but they say, well, our results may be biased because we are investigating mostly vaccinated healthcare workers. So while it is true that in that sense, our study has what's called limitations, all of them do, one way or the other. So what is important in policy research, or in any type of research for that matter, is that you put your process, your methodology very, very transparently and very clear. Now, there's another thing. Of those whom voices we collected and perspective we collected who were vaccinated, and those in the mainstream literature are taken to mean, well, you're vaccinated, you accepted the vaccine. Well, really? Did you ask me whether I accepted the vaccine or not? As it turns out, they don't. Vast majority of times, they kind of assume that uptake means acceptance. But as I said, it's acceptance under, in my opinion, just to put it very bluntly, point a gun, right? You lose your job. If you can't afford it, you can't afford to lose your job, you just don't give up, whatever it is. Now, there's also an interesting piece of data, Will, that I'm beginning to observe now, particularly with Alberta, because to my surprise and counter my expectations, Alberta had a higher number of vaccinated healthcare workers and supporters of the mandate who thought that, sort of by implication, if you don't support a mandate, you're not fit to be a healthcare worker. These are healthcare workers. So thankfully, we managed to capture their voices. But what I found that was very interesting, and they were, so there you could say, well, and many vaccinated healthcare workers we found in Ontario, perhaps because our recruitment was even more intentionally.